Waiver Wire, week 11, and we have 11 fantasy additions to break down before waiver claims process on Wednesday. With notable injuries from Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, Chris Olave, Mike Evans, Darius Slayton, and Tank Bigsby. We'll go position by position from the most viable to pure desperation. From tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and DST. Don't skip unless you're a hopeless, uncultured swine. We're going to start off with tight ends and Janu Smith. 36% rostered. Since week 8, Smith has had a 69% route share, a 18% target share, and 1.38 yards per route run on a 21% first read share. He's had 2 red zone targets in those 2 games. He should flirt with tight end 1 value this week against the Raiders secondary that has allowed the 6th most fantasy points per game to tight ends. Look at the running backs. Audri Eason, who, in a stunning departure from recent splits, Sean Payton made rookie Audri Eason the lead back in Denver's narrow loss to the Chiefs on Sunday. The powerful runner from Notre Dame carried 14 times for 53 yards against the tough Kansas City run defense, while previous starter Javonte Williams only earned 1 rushing attempt. With Williams a product of the previous regime, Payton probably doesn't feel committed to him. He said, and I quote, Audri Eason will continue to get more reps. Sounds good. Khil Herbert, 41% rostered. Bengals brought Khalil in to seemingly take over in Zach Moss's role, since he's going to be out for an extended period of time. Zach Taylor, in his press conference, explained that they need to keep Chase Brown fresh. We don't know exactly how or where Khil Herbert will fall in terms of snap share, but it's worth a stab just to see if he can carve out that role Zach Moss had. This is a good offense to be a part of. Wide receivers, Mike Williams. He's only played 9 snaps and ran 7 routes in week 10. He only drew 1 target, but he made the most of it with a 32-yard touchdown reception. Williams is a priority pickup. His role will surely expand moving forward, and the incoming matchups are glorious. Over the next 3 weeks, he faces Baltimore, the worst secondary in the league, Cleveland, the 7th worst, and Cincy, the 8th worst, who all find themselves inside the top 8 in fantasy points per game allowed to perimeter wide receivers, aka Mike Williams. Pop Douglas. In games where Drake May has played a full game, Douglas has averaged 5 catches and 48 yards. I mean, we're not predicting that the Patriots offense will suddenly just become some high-scoring thing, but Douglas's ceiling is not the worst, and you could do a lot worse if you need a stream or a flex option than Pop Douglas. Noah Brown, 21% rostered. Commanders, they don't have a wide receiver too, and who has emerged as just that behind Terry McLaurin? Noah Brown. Zach Ertz has been second in target share, and it's been a rotation for all the other wideouts. But over the past 2 weeks, Brown has stepped up into a bigger role. And in week 8, he played 81% of the snaps, which was more than McLaurin. Last week, he led the team in targets with 6. It's a good offense to be a part of. Quarterbacks, Russell Wilson. The Steelers are for real. Mr. Unlimited has led Pittsburgh to 3 wins as a starter, rebounding from a bad performance versus the Giants with a decent one against Washington. Baltimore secondary is the worst in the league, and they will be even worse without safety Kyle Hamilton. It's not difficult to expect another respectable fantasy performance from Russ this week. And Drake May. He struggled against elite pass defenses like the Bears and Jets, but has much more respectable games against squishy units like Houston and Jacksonville. The Rams have a soft secondary next week, so fire up the Carolina boy. His rushing ability provides a safe floor, while his gunslinging ability on the field boosts that ceiling. You do worse. And now for DST. The Houston Texans. Houston is number 2 in DVOA, which is a metric that measures a team's defensive success on each play against the league average success on said play. Number 5 in pressure rate and number 6 in sacks. The Houston defense has scored at least 9 fantasy points in 3 of its last 4 games, and the Texans are about to have the softest 3-week schedule with matchups against Trey Lance, Will Levis, and Michael McCorkle-Jones. Good Lord. Green Bay. The Packers have been a top 10 fantasy defense, averaging nearly 9 fantasy points per game. Green Bay has forced 19 turnovers and notched 22 sacks in 9 games. Week 11, they faced the struggling Bears offense that could only muster 142 yards on Sunday in a 19-3 embarrassing loss at home to the Patriots. Miami Dolphins. If you want a streaming defense for Week 11 that you can get for free in case you didn't queue up anybody on Tuesday night, maybe you don't open your app because you're ultra depressed until Sunday at 12 p.m., you'll surely be able to grab the stinky Dolphins. They get the even stinkier Raiders, who have given up 11.2 fantasy points per game to opposing defenses. These players are the most viable options based off Week 10 production, availability, and outlook. Subscribe, turn on post notifications so you stay prepared for Sunday. Like the video. Watch some more videos. Buy something from my store.